Guys, it is UFC Fight Week. UFC 294 goes down this Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time from Abu Dhabi. And this card is just stacked top to bottom. Can't wait. Islam Makhachev, Alexander Volkanovski, and Kamaru Usman, Khamzat Chimaev in the co-main. Oh, this card is crazy. Let's break it down, top to bottom. Let's go through this whole goddamn thing right now. All right. We're starting the night off at middleweight. Sharabutin Magomedov and Bruno Silva. I'm excited about this one. Very interesting fight on paper. Magomedov is 11-0, undefeated. He's a minus 200 favorite in this fight. 29 years old, out of Moscow. 11 wins. 10 of those have been knockouts. 7 of those 10 knockouts were in the first round. Dude's a beast. Extremely good striker. This is going to be his UFC debut, and it's a tough one. He's fighting Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva's out of Brazil. He's 34 years old, 23-9. Not the best record, but dude is a beast. He has never been knocked out. He has 20 knockouts on his record, but he has been submitted 7 times. All 4 of his UFC wins have been by knockout. So that tells you something. Dude is an absolute beast. He lost a decision to Alex Pereira, which I think is a huge win. You know, Alex Pereira, we know that dude is an absolute monster, champion right now. I think Bruno Silva, anyone who can stand with that guy and make it out alive is for real, is a very, very high-level striker. This is going to be an interesting one. Magomedov does not have any submissions on his record. If he did, I'd be a little worried for Bruno Silva. I just think Bruno Silva is a master on the feet. His stand-up is ridiculous. This is going to be a crazy fight. My first pick for this was Magomedov, but I'm going back on that. I'm picking Bruno Silva, plus 170 underdog to get the win in that one. That's going to be a very interesting fight to start the night. All right, let's move right along. Next up, we got a strawweight fight. Jin Yu Frey, Victoria Dudakova. Jin Yu Frey's plus 300. She's 11-9, 38 years old. She's got 1 knockout, 2 submissions. She's been knocked out 3 times, and she's been submitted once. She's on a 3-fight losing streak right now. She's taken on UFC newcomer Victoria Dudakova. She's undefeated, 7-0. She's a minus 380 favorite in this one. Fighting out of Russia. She's 24 years old. 2 knockouts, 4 subs. Got a win on Contender Series back in 2022. And she won her first UFC fight by TKO in round 1. I love everything about her. I think she gets a pretty dominant win. Pretty sure she's going to get a finish. Pretty sure it's going to be an early knockout. But she has 4 subs, so that's a possibility too. I like Dudakova in that one. Next fight is at featherweight. Nathaniel Wood, Muhammad Naimov. Nathaniel Wood is 30 years old, out of London. Minus 340 favorite for this one. He's 19-5, 8 knockouts, 5 submissions. He's been knocked out twice. He's been submitted twice. He's on a 3-fight winning streak right now. He's taking on Muhammad Naimov. Naimov is plus 270 in this fight. His record's 9-2. He's 29 years old, 5 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's never been finished in his career. He lost on the Contender Series back in 2020, and then knocked out Jamie Malarkey in his first fight in the UFC. So Naimov is legit. I like Wood in this one. I think Nathaniel Wood gets it done, but definitely an interesting fight. Next up, Anshul Jubilee, Mike Breeden. This is a lightweight fight. Anshul Jubilee is out of India. He's 28 years old. He's minus 420 in this fight. 2 knockouts, 1 submission. Fights out of Tiger Muay Thai in Thailand. He won both of his first 2 UFC fights, although they were to guys I don't recognize. But still, very impressive. He's taking on Mike Breeden. Breeden is going to be plus 320 in this fight. 34 years old. His record is 10-6, 8 knockouts. He has 8 knockouts on his record, but he's been knocked out 3 times. He lost on the Contender Series back in 2020, and he has lost all 3 of his UFC fights. 2 of them were by round 1 knockout. I like Anshul Jubli in this one. Next up, middleweight fight. Cedriques Dumas, Abu Azaitar. Dumas is 28 years old, fighting out of Florida. He's a minus 165 favorite in this one. 8-1 record, 4 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been submitted 1 time. Dana White Contender Series submission win back in 2022. And his last UFC fight, he won by decision. So, like everything I'm seeing about Dumas, he's a beast. He's fighting Abu Azaitar. Abu is 37 years old, 7 knockouts, 1 submission, been knocked out twice. Last UFC fight, he got knocked out by Marc-Andre Baralt. Baralt's a beast, so I don't hate that, but I got Dumas in this one. All right, next up is Javid Basharat, Victor Henry. Basharat is 28 years old, fighting out of London. He's a minus 440 favorite in this one. His record is 14-0, undefeated, never lost. 5 knockouts, 6 submissions, fights out of Extreme Couture, got a win on Contender Series back in 2021. He's had 3 UFC fights since then. All of them have been decision wins. He's taken on Victor Henry. Victor Henry is 36 years old out of California, 23-6 record. He's plus 340 in this one. A lot of big underdogs on this card. Deservedly so. He's got 6 knockouts, he's got 8 submissions, and he's never been finished. He's 2-1 in the UFC. Interesting fight on paper, but I got Basharat getting the win in this one. Next fight is at lightweight. We got Muhammad Yahya versus Trevor Peek. Muhammad Yahya is 12-3, fighting out of Dubai. He's a plus 105 dog in this one. 7 knockouts, 2 submissions, knocked out once, submitted twice. This is his UFC debut. He was 1-1 in Bellator, 1 knockout win and 1 loss by decision, I believe. Dude is definitely solid. This is going to be a tough test, though. First fight in the UFC, and he's fighting at home. Going to be interesting. He's taking on Trevor Peek. Trevor Peek is 28 years old out of Alabama, 8-1 record. He's going to be minus 125 in this fight. He's got 8 knockouts. He's never been finished. Got a knockout win on Contender Series back in 2022. He's coming off his first loss, which was a decision loss. But I like everything about Trevor Peek. I think he's going to bounce back from this loss and put on an absolute dominant performance. I got Trevor Peek in that one. Now we're moving on. All right, guys. Next fight's at flyweight, and this is a doozy. We got Tim Elliott, 36 years old out of Missouri, versus the undefeated Mohamed Mokaev. Whew. Man, this is a fun one to talk about. Cannot wait to watch this. All right, Tim Elliott's going to be plus 380 in this fight. 36 years old. He is 13 years older than Mohamed Mokaev. That is a very big age gap. Tim Elliott has 3 knockouts, 6 submissions. He's only been knocked out 1 time, been submitted 5 times. He's on a 2-fight win streak. He's a tough 24 finalist. I mean, there's not a whole lot else to say about Tim Elliott. Super well-rounded fighter, been around for a long time, really good wrestling foundation. He's just a veteran, absolute UFC veteran, but he's taken on a beast. Mohamed Mokaev is 10-0, undefeated. He's a minus 500 favorite in this one. 23 years old, fighting out of England, 2 knockouts, 5 subs, but his record doesn't show how good this guy is. He is so dominant in there. His wrestling is impeccable. He just takes guys down. He submits them at will. I mean, Mohamed Mokaev is the guy. He is going to fight for a title, and I got to think he's going to be champion at some point. I love everything about Mohamed Mokaev. He gets it done in this one. This will be one of his toughest. This will probably be his toughest test so far. I'm pretty confident in saying that. This is going to be a tough one. All right. We are moving on to the main card now. First fight on the main card is at bantamweight. Said Nurmagomedov and Muin Gaforov. All right. Nurmagomedov is 31 out of Dagestan. He's a minus 230 favorite in this one. 17-3. Now, you hear the name Nurmagomedov and you think high-level wrestling. And this guy definitely has some wrestling, but he's for sure more of a striker than anything else. 4 knockouts, 5 submissions, never been finished. He's 6-2 in the UFC. He's coming off a decision loss. Man, he's out to avenge this loss for sure. He's taking on Muin Gaforov, 27 years old, fighting out of Tajikistan, plus 190 dog in this one. He's 18-5, 10 knockouts, 7 subs, never has been finished. That's huge. He's lost on the Contender Series back in 2021, and he lost his first fight in the UFC. He also lost to John Lineker back in one championship. I think that was like 2019, maybe before that. But Gaforov's been around, solid fighter, only 27 years old. It's going to be an interesting one, but I just think Said Nurmagomedov gets it done. All right. Next up is middleweight fight, Ikram Aliskerov and Warley Alves. Ikram is 30 years old, fighting out of Dagestan. Minus 440 favorite in this one. He's 14-1, and that one loss was a knockout loss to Khamzat Chimaev back in 2019 before both these guys were in the UFC. So, man, if that's your one loss, I don't hate that at all. 5 knockouts, 5 subs. Like I just said, been knocked out one time by Khamzat. Won on Contender Series back in 2022. And his first fight in the UFC got a first-round knockout of Phil Hawes. Dude is fucking awesome. I'm very excited to see Ikram fight going forward. I would love to see him fight Khamzat again one day. That would be sick. Ikram's taking on Warley Alves. Warley Alves is going to be a plus 340 dog in this fight. He's fighting out of Brazil, 32 years old, 14-6 record, 4 knockouts, 6 submissions. He's been knocked out twice. He's been submitted once. He beat Colby Covington way back in 2015. Warley is a beast. He's not going to get talked about much. Most casuals aren't going to know who he is. But he's had a really crazy UFC career. Entered the UFC back in 2014. Like I said, beat Colby Covington. Also beat Alan Jouban. Took a decision loss to Kamaru Usman back in 2016. Dude's been around a while. Dude's fought a lot of big names. This is going to be a really tough one for him. I got Ikram Aliskerov in this one. All right, next fight. We're getting into the big ones, guys. This next one's at light heavyweight. Magomed Ankalaev and Johnny Walker. Oh, this fight's fucking great. Ankalaev is 31 out of Dagestan. Minus 350 favorite in this one. He's 17-1. 9 knockouts. Been submitted one time. He's coming off a draw to Jan Blachowicz. I know he wants to avenge that. I know he wants to get back in the win column and do it decisively. His only loss of his career was in his UFC debut, and it was a submission loss to Paul Craig. He's on a 9-fight win streak before that last fight that was a draw. It's not a loss, but still, it's not a win either. So I guess the streak's over. But I think he starts a new streak Saturday night. He's taking on Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker is fighting out of Brazil, 31 years old, plus 275 dog, 21-7 record, 16 knockouts, 3 submissions. Johnny Walker's been knocked out 4 times. He's been submitted once. He's on a 3-fight win streak right now, and 2 of those have been round 1 finishes. Johnny Walker is an interesting cat. Right when you think it's over, he just comes out of nowhere and gets a crazy win. He gets some crazy knockouts, but I don't think he gets it done in this one. I think Ankalaev knocks him out early on in this fight. I got Ankalaev in that one. Let's move on to our co-main event. Holy shit. This is a doozy, guys. Man, Paulo Costa, Khamzat was a great fight. This one is even better. Kamaru Usman, Khamzat Chimaev. Whew, let's break it down. All right, this one's at middleweight. Kamaru is going to be plus 230 in this fight, which is nuts. He's 20-3, 36 years old out of Florida. He's got 9 knockouts, 1 submission. He's been knocked out once. He's been submitted once. Last 2 fights in a row he's lost. Both of them were to Leon Edwards, who's the current champ. Before losing to Leon the first time, he was on a 19-fight winning streak. Absolutely ridiculous. Kamaru's just all around very skilled. good striker, got really good takedown defense. He's a beast. He's a really good fighter. This is going to be very interesting. Former champion and one of the greatest middleweight champions we've seen. But he's taking on Khamzat Chimaev. And Khamzat is looking for blood. Khamzat's 12-0, undefeated, minus 280 favorite. He's 29 years old, fighting out of Sweden. 6 knockouts, 5 submissions. 7 of those 12 wins were first-round finishes. I mean, what can you not like about this dude? We're looking at one of the scariest fighters to ever compete in mixed martial arts, to ever fight in the UFC. Just absolutely phenomenal. That fight he had against Gilbert Burns is one of my favorite fights I've ever watched. It's so fucking good. Man, I was a little worried I was worried going into this fight with Paulo Costa because Costa can crack. And obviously we saw Khamzat get dropped against Gilbert Burns. So, in the striking against a bigger guy, I would be a little worried. I'm not as worried about Kamaru, though. I think Khamzat gets it done in dominant fashion. Let's move on to the main event. Islam Makhachev, Alexander Volkanovski for the lightweight title. Oh! Islam is 31 years old out of Dagestan. He's minus 260 favorite in this one. 24-1 record. 4 knockouts. 11 submissions. He has been knocked out 1 time. He's on a 12-fight win streak right now, which is crazy. But he's taking on Alexander Volkanovski. And Volkanovski is quietly, I think, one of the pound-for-pound greats in the UFC right now. He's 35 out of Australia. He's plus 210 in this one. 13 knockouts, 3 submissions. Been knocked out once. He's coming off a knockout win over Yair Rodriguez. I like everything about Volkanovski in this fight. I really thought you could make it a really strong argument that he won the first fight. Man, he did a pretty good job defending the wrestling. Defended the takedowns. He did get taken down, I think, twice. There were a few other times Islam got him down, but he just popped right back. So I really don't count that much as a takedown. And Islam did a lot of getting takedowns and then just kind of sitting on top of Volk in that fight, not really doing anything. I definitely think Volkanovski is the stronger striker here in this fight. What I'm worried about and what I noticed in the first fight is just the size difference was massive. Islam was way bigger than Volkanovski. And because of that, Volkanovski had a very hard time landing the jab. If he could find a way to land the jab, land a lot of leg kicks early, and defend takedowns, Volkanovski has a really good chance of winning this fight. I picked him. I think he can crack. If you watch that first fight back, round 1, he cracked Islam pretty good. I think both guys got dropped in that fight. It was pretty damn good, but I do think Volkanovski is the better striker. Just Islam has a bigger reach, which is going to help him out for sure. Man, great fight. I got Volkanovski in this one. I'm going to be streaming the entire card. Like I said earlier, starts at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. I'll be streaming the whole thing at twitch.tv/DeathSlayer1964. Check it out, guys. Love to hear from you. Peace.